about defensive driving so that your ride is uneventful and somewhat boring. Yes, uneventful and somewhat boring, because if you have the correct defensive driving strategies in place, there's not going to be any emergency going on most of the time when you're driving. And the first skill that you want to put in place is space management, following distance, 3 to 4 seconds. And you want to stop back in traffic 1 vehicle length to prevent being rear-ended. And your landmark for that is to be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement. And any vehicle, this landmark works with any vehicle that you drive, anything from cars, pickup trucks, ambulance, and tractor trailers, because I taught tractor trailers as well, and it works in that as well. So a few people here already. Evan is here. Hello, my friend. Drick is here. Hello, hello, hello. Marion is here from sunny Vancouver. And Bricks for Wheels, Corey is here. Corey's moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at for more information. Sean is tuning in from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. And Elevator Fan, Monticello, Indiana, the Midwest there in the U.S. Welcome, everyone. If you have questions, definitely ask us a question. If you're watching on the replay, check down in the description there and leave us a question. We'll definitely try and get to answering that for you. And if I don't answer you right away, just send me another email, send me another comment, because there's a lot going on, a lot of people on the channel. So we do our best, but see what we can do for you. All right. Whoa, what's up, guys? Excellent. Hello, hello, hello. So we're talking about defensive driving skills. The first thing we're going to talk about is social driving. We're going to talk about the problems of driving. And I posted a poll on the weekend about signaling. Why don't other drivers signal? And I posted this poll before, and it inevitably gets a lot of responses and a lot of comments and a lot of opinions about why people don't respond. And my favorite one on that poll is, I don't signal because I'm giving information to the enemy. That's not what they said, but I'm paraphrasing what they said, because when they're changing lanes, merging from one lane to the next, they're convinced that if they signal to move from one lane to the other, that other drivers are going to intentionally drive up beside them and block them from merging. Now, I can't say that I've ever had this happen, but some drivers are of the opinion that that is what is happening, and this is the reason that they do not signal when they change lanes from one lane to the other lane. However, fortunately for us as smart drivers, we know that there are a lot of other telltale signs that we can read and interpret to know that what other drivers are doing, and we call it driver's intuition, but it's not really intuition, it's just experience and the ability to recognize another vehicle that it is already slightly beginning to move to the center line before it moves into the other lane. Because if we're honest about the way that most drivers on the roadway actually signal, they don't signal at all, okay? They give you a little courtesy flash as they're already halfway from one lane to the other lane, and they don't give you fair warning. And as we talk about in defensive driving and driver training, road safety, is that you want 3 flashes of the signal minimum. 1 flash is to get the other driver's attention, the other road user's attention, because it's not just drivers, it's bicycles, kids on e-scooters, pedestrians, and anybody else on the roadway. So road users, all of the traffic, right? And 2 flashes allows them to locate where you are, right? Because we're all driving and we're all kind of in la la land and we're looking at our own things when we're driving. So it's like, oh, signal, wait a minute. Oh, there they are. 2 flashes on the signal. And then the 3rd flash allows the other driver, the other road user, to do something that helps you out. They either back off, create a little bit more space beside you and let you merge over, or they speed up and they go past you. And I believe that these people who think and are of the opinion that if they signal when they're merging, other people are going to speed up and block them from merging. I think what they're thinking is that the other people are actually speeding up and they're actually getting out of the other driver's way. But they're interpreting that as other drivers blocking them, because that's their attitude and opinion about driving, which is not the truth either, right? And so lots of people had lots of ideas and thinking about signaling, and it is a controversial topic in the psychology of driving, which is interesting, right? And so it's a poll that always gets lots of responses, always gets lots of comments. Marion, Tesla this morning in the left lane in front of me, started wandering across into my lane, then wandered back into the left lane, then turned right in front of me. Marion, the Tesla driver, was probably either really tired or they were inebriated. They were either smoking marijuana or they'd been imbibing alcohol, one or the other. So if drivers are doing that, they're wandering in their lane, just increase your following distance from them, okay? Social driving. This is the problem you face. This is why we're putting in place defensive driving skills and habits, okay? We need to create driving habits that will keep us safe when we're tired, when we're fatigued, when we're inebriated, because people will be inebriated. The number one reason that people are inebriated behind the wheel is not because of alcohol or illegal drugs. It's because of prescription medications and over-the-counter medications. This is the number one reason why people are inebriated. Know that. People abuse prescription drugs and over-the-counter medications all the time. So this is what's going on when you're driving, and this is the challenge and the problem that you face on the roadways. Lackadaisical, hello my friend. Whereabouts in Ontario? I'm from London, Ontario, home of Western. Corey, yes, I'm doing goodly, excellent. Corey's doing well, awesome. Exactly what I did. Marion, yes, and that's what you need to do. So social driving, it is the way that people drive after they get their license. And one comment from a smart driver said that it's mostly experienced drivers that don't signal, and they're absolutely correct, because that's part and parcel of social driving. And they don't signal, right? They don't signal effectively if they do at all. So that's what's happening. Lackadaisical, Windsor, my friend. Yes, I just did some work with vet cabs down there in Windsor. So great place there in Windsor, across from Detroit. Actually, it's interesting. Detroit is, here's a little bit of trivial information for you, for those of you in other parts of the world. Detroit is the only part of the United States that is north of Canada. Let me say that again. Detroit, Michigan is the only part of the United States that is north of Canada. So if you look at a map, Detroit's here and Windsor is here. So Windsor is south of Detroit, Michigan. It's interesting. Rebirth, heavy traffic. What was the best way to drive through busy traffic? Right across from Detroit, yes. Star, what's the best way to drive in busy and heavy traffic? Just keep your space in front, stop back one vehicle length, and you always want to have that minimum one vehicle length behind the cars in front of you, because if you're closer than that, you risk rear-ending the vehicles in front of you. We've talked about this previously, that the number one crash in North America is rear end crashes, and it's because people are following too close. And especially when you're in busy traffic and heavy traffic, if you don't keep that one vehicle length where your landmark is the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement, what happens is you get distracted because you're going slow and the traffic's busy, and you're like, oh my God, am I ever going to get there? And I just hate this. And you're looking at your clock and you're like, I'm not going to make it to my coffee break, and I'm going to be home late, and the wife's going to be mad, and the kids are not already going to be in bed, blah, blah, blah. And you're looking at your watch and you're trying to figure out how to drive in busy traffic. And then you get distracted and you drive into the car in front of you because the traffic comes to a stop where before it was rolling slowly. So that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you have that minimum one vehicle length between your vehicle and the vehicles in front of you. All right. And more so if you can. White, failed my road test again today, but I appreciate your channel. It helped a lot. Okay, and White, what was the feedback on the debrief, the information you got about why you were unsuccessful on your driver's test? Star, copy, excellent. So happy we can help out. So social driving, it's the way that people drive after they get their license, because as we know, when you get a driver's license, you are not required to take any professional development training. You're not required to take a defensive driving course every 5 years. You're not required to take driver training. If you get a speeding ticket, at least the only place that I know that you're required to take a defensive driving course is the state of California in the United States. Every other place, you get a speeding ticket, you just pay the fine and whatever the increase in your insurance premium is, and the points there's no other repercussions. You don't have to learn anything or figure anything out. So everything that drivers know on the roadway and when they're operating a vehicle is experiential. It's what happens to them, and then they form opinions about their driving and how they should drive and operate on the roadway. And this is why people have the opinion that if I signal, I'm giving information to the enemy and they're going to speed up and they're going to block me. That's an opinion that people create when they're driving, so they don't signal. And this is, again, one of the many, many hallmarks of social driving. Lackadaisical, what were the differences between your Australia driving test and BC test? Lackadaisical, not very much other than driving on the other side of the road. Now, the Australian driving test was the first time that I had encountered roundabouts. So there was a bit of a learning curve when it came to roundabouts. But, you know, it was only a couple of weeks. And by the time I'd driven through a few, I was like, yes, love roundabouts. And I have to say, the city of Vernon here is taking out its four-way stops and putting in roundabouts. Now, I just wish they wouldn't put in so much concrete when they build a roundabout. But I'm all for roundabouts as opposed to four-way stop signs because they're just way, way better. As I've talked about in the past, roundabouts move more traffic volume per hour. There's less points of conflict, so there's less chance of having a crash. And as well, they reduce urban noise pollution. So roundabouts, bring them on. Just, we don't need so much concrete when you're building the roundabouts. It's over-engineered to the nth degree when it comes to roundabouts, especially here in Vernon. White, I failed to yield to through traffic at a small town intersection. I was turning left off a side road and waiting for a pedestrian to cross, and a car came into the thoroughfare and I failed to yield. Yeah, that's going to be tough, White. Left-hand turns are going to get you every time. If it's something on a driver's test, it's going to be a left turn. So definitely practice your left turns. Look at the videos here. Corey's put up the video on roundabouts because I was just talking about that. If you could put up the video for roundabouts as well, or the video for left turns as well. Thank you for that. Tim is here, Drive Smart BC. Tim is a former retired, he was a former RCMP officer. Now he's retired. And how do you signal for roundabouts? So there's two things. And one of the things that I say that other people do not say is signal in the direction you're going to turn in the roundabout the same as you would at a conventional intersection. So if you're coming up and you're going to turn left, signal left, okay? However, when you get into the roundabout, cancel your signal, okay? And then when you exit the roundabout, the when that you're going to do, you're going to signal to the roundabout. Now, I know that people say that, and I do this. I practice what I preach. I signal the direction I'm going to go when I go when I'm approaching the roundabout, and you know I'm looking at traffic. I'm figuring out whether I got to yield or whether I'm going to go. And then when you get into the roundabout, according to BC law here in British Columbia and most other places are all the same. They say signal to exit the roundabout. The problem with that is you get one, maybe two flashes on the signal, so that you're not really telling the people behind you what you're doing, okay, with the signaling when you're exiting the roundabout. So that's how you signal. But I think that for those of us that are experienced drivers, experienced with roundabouts, I think it's more that you have to watch the other vehicles and figure out what the other vehicles are going. And this comes back to when we're talking about traffic Tetris, right? We're trying to kind of conceptually figure out where everybody's going, what everybody's doing in the roundabout and those that are approaching the roundabout. And I'm going to have to do another video on the roundabout because the one that's up is old and it's very long. It's crazy now when you think that an 8-minute video is a long video on YouTube and how YouTube has changed over the years, right? It was interesting because I did watch a 10-year-old video the other day on recaning a rocking chair that was 25 minutes, and I was kind of fascinated for the whole thing because I wanted to see what the chair looked like at the end when they were finished caning it. But anyway, so I'm going to redo the roundabout video. Corey's put up the video there on left-hand turns. Lackadaisical, somebody is first, then they hesitate, causes confusion. Lackadaisical, are you talking about roundabouts? Yes, if somebody confuses or doesn't go, and this is the other place that you're going to rear end somebody, is approaching the roundabout, because as you're approaching the roundabout, if you're behind another vehicle, you have to be watching the vehicle in front of you and you have to be watching the traffic in the roundabout. And I always say to people, for roundabouts, in the beginning, it's a little bit confusing because you have to be prepared to go if the way is clear, and you have to be prepared to give way and stop as you're going into the roundabout. Because you have to watch that vehicle in front of you, because if the way is clear and you're thinking, oh, we're going, and the vehicle in front of you gets confused or hesitates, and they decide to stop and you're not watching, you're going to rear end that vehicle in front of you. And I've seen crashes like that. Actually, vet cabs there in Windsor, they had problems with that. People coming up, drivers coming up to the roundabout, the way isn't clear, the vehicle's front stops, and they drive into the vehicle in front of them. So, Tim, thanks. I signaled my exit figuring that the left signal on entering just confuses people. I don't know whether it does or not, because that's what you're doing, and you would signal left at a conventional intersection. And this is why I advocate to people, signal the direction you're going. If you're going straight through, you don't have to signal. If you're going to go right, signal to tell people behind you what you're doing. Now, I can understand your point, Tim, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but for me, I just signal the way I would at a conventional intersection as I'm approaching the intersection. Now, approaching the roundabout rather. Now, once I get in the roundabout, I cancel my signal, and then I signal when I exit, right? But, as you and I both know, it's only a couple of flashes. So are you really communicating with other traffic according to your, flashing? And it takes a couple of flashes for us to kind of pay attention to what's going on. Oftentimes what happens is that those of us that have experience, we're seeing, so if you're going to go into the roundabout and you're going to go left at the roundabout, we're seeing the vehicle staying to the right as you're coming around to that 1, 2, 3rd exit, right? So we can kind of figure out what other traffic is doing and other vehicles are doing based on the position and the speed of the vehicle in the roundabout. Because the other thing about roundabouts is, the goofy infrastructure that we have here in British Columbia and in North America. They always curve the road coming into the roundabout, thinking that curve is going to slow people down as they're coming into the roundabout. Now, if you're from Australia, right, or you've driven in Australia, we know that roundabouts mean to speed up. Not really, but they kind of do. All right, Marion, that's why we leave a gap in front of you all the time, even at roundabouts. Exactly what you said, Marion, about leaving that gap and having that minimum safe distance between your vehicle and the vehicle in front. Tim, I've never had formal training on roundabouts. Dawson Creek had the only one when I was learning. Yeah, Tim, the problem with roundabouts is there's no consistent information about roundabouts. Everybody has a little bit different information. If you look at every state, every province, they all have a little bit different information, and they have a little bit of different information about signaling. But the one is consistent, signal when you're leaving the roundabout. But as I said, is it actually doing anything? Because it's only 1 or 2 flashes on the signal, especially if you're going straight through, right? Because you got to get past that first exit, and then you're just shooting for that next exit as you're going out. So I don't know. I would like to have a more definitive answer for people, but try to communicate it as clearly as possible with other traffic. Lackadaisical, I passed my G in a first attempt a few years ago. Thanks for your YouTube channel. Specifically, also watch that Quebec YouTuber. Yeah, we won't. He's a nice guy. Lackadaisical, elevator fan. People panic under pressure. Unexpected stuff happens. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. All right. If you hesitate in your test, you could potentially fail. Elevator fan. Yes, if you do that, you could potentially fail. It's the same thing as going too fast on a driver's test. There was one other point that I wanted to make, and it's gone out of my head. Gone. So we're talking about defensive driving. We're talking about social driving. We're talking about the way that other people drive after they get their driver's license, because this is the challenge that you face. And your number one defensive habit that you can put in place is maintaining your 3 to 4 second following distance behind other traffic. And sometimes this can be a bit challenging, especially if you're in heavy traffic or other traffic is doing something weird in terms of the Tetris configuration. And sometimes you just need to back off and you just need to slow down, especially if you're on the highway and there's a merge point or a choke point And this inevitably on highways is where drivers get into trouble. And again, it comes back to the right-of-way myth in people's head, right? They get to the choke point, and it's like, I'm in the right lane, I have the right-of-way, the other person has to back off. You need to know that it's not a battle. It's getting along. It's called social driving. Driving is a social activity, and one person needs to give it up so that you can both get home safely. Corey will put up the short video that I did there last week or so with the two semi-trucks at the choke point on the highway, and the one comes screaming past him, and all the one on the inside had to do was let off. But the one in the inside was convinced that he or she had the right of way and that they were going to go, but almost got run off the road and almost didn't make it home safe. So know that sometimes in terms of keeping yourself safe, in terms of defensive driving, it's just a matter of letting your foot off the throttle and letting the other person go and have his or her crash somewhere else. Paul, my friend, bus operators need to pay attention in front of them and not do the silly hello to another bus operator driving in the opposite direction because a near fender bender with a car. The lights, yes. You need to pay attention to what you're doing. And remember, for those of you who are bus drivers, transit bus drivers, coach drivers, Greyhound drivers, whatever bus you are driving, passenger safety is your number one priority. It trumps everything else that is going on when you're driving. And unfortunately, get their itis. This is the other hallmark of social driving. We are working to get from point A to point B as quickly as humanly possible. And all the other boneheads on the roadway are in my way. Get their itis. It's the same reason that the Titanic sank in April 14, 1912, okay, on its maiden voyage. The unsinkable ship sank because of get their itis. Every ship captain at that time was under pressure to make the crossing from England to New York City as quickly as humanly possible. The ship sank because the captain was under pressure, get their itis as quickly as humanly possible. And this is another hallmark of social driving. Just let them go and have their crash somewhere else. So you're maintaining space in front, 3 to 4 second following distance, you're stopping back in traffic 1 vehicle length, and you're mapping and tracking other road users, and you are communicating effectively with other traffic, okay? It's a social activity. Signaling is not giving information to the enemy. Signaling is communicating with other people because, again, we create that habit of effective communication with other traffic owing to the fact that it's a social activity, and if you get tired and you make a mistake or you get distracted or something happens in the driving environment that is unexpected, perhaps, maybe, the other road user, the other driver will make allowances, make concessions, do something that will prevent having a collision, and we all go home safely, and it's not a battleground, all right? Elevator fan, don't zipper merge at the choke point because the zipper merge doesn't work. Yes, elevator fan knows me because you're giving up space at the choke point. Don't expect other drivers to do it. And the other piece about what elevator fan was just saying there about zipper merging is that it's one of those things that either everybody does it or nobody does it. And most of the time, 50% of the people on the roadway don't even know what a zipper merge is. So therefore, half the people don't know what it is, half the people aren't going to do it, so therefore it's not going to work. So don't zipper merge, all right? And any professional truck driver, any professional bus driver with 1 iota of professional training will tell you that you will never give up that amount of space. So as soon as the sign tells you to get over into the other lane, all right? Marion, I don't understand that. I haven't heard not to zipper merge because it doesn't work. I have done both and it works okay. Marion, you must have been in some utopia that I don't know about because I've never seen it work. Paul, I also told Mississauga Transit, if you're not near anything, it is less likely you will hit something. Yes, and that is also very true. Excuse me. That yes, if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. So maintain your space around your vehicle. Let's get over to the presentation. We'll get through that about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll come back. We'll spend the remainder of the hour talking about defensive driving. keeping yourself safe on the roadway, what skills and habits you can put in place. If you have any questions about passing a driver's test, we can help you with that as well to stay safe on the roadways and pass your driver's test first time. Smarter defensive driving, minimum safe distance between your vehicle and other vehicles on the roadway. Shoulder checking, ABS, always be scanning. We come back to this again and again and again. Shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check, because you're moving your head and you're looking and you're scanning and you're observing and tracking and mapping road users on the roadway. Shoulder checking is the most critical skill that you can put in place, the most critical driving habit that you can put in place to keep yourself safe. And it is important for new drivers. And I have had smart drivers come back over the years and say to me, it's dangerous. You can adjust your mirrors. I have blind spot detectors. I have convex mirrors. I don't have to shoulder check. All of that is butkus. All of that is horsepucky, and it's simply flat out wrong. Flat out wrong. You need to shoulder check. You need to move your head. And again, I have a go at driving examiners, driving instructors that have mirrors in their car, and they're like, what are the mirrors for? Oh, I'm looking to watch their eyes. Well, you cannot drive a car. You physically cannot drive a car by simply moving your eyes. Your eyes do not move enough in your head to be able to scan and see into the blind areas around your car and drive safely. You must shoulder check when you're driving to keep yourself safe and prevent being involved in a crash when you're driving. All right, for those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s. I hauled freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States, mostly east of the Mississippi. However, a couple of times I did get out to California, Texas, other places in the other places west of the Mississippi. I drove buses for Greyhound in one of the regional bus lines in Australia while I was going to university there. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1998, so I've been doing this for a very long time. Most of my instruction has been with semi-trucks and buses, coaches, logbooks, air brakes. My expertise is in air brakes. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne in Australia with my doctorate in legal history, which is a study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. Yes, I am obsessed with the question of the number of traffic crashes on the roadway and why we do not give it more care and concern than what we do in our society. And of course, right now we have all of the urban planners who are in the mindset of we hate cars, right? And they're just doing everything to engineer and manufacture roadways so that they will serve everybody. And in the end, unfortunately, what's going to happen is these roadways aren't going to serve anybody. They're not going to work for anybody. They're not going to work for the bicycles, the pedestrians, or the cars. So this is where we're at right now in terms of urban planning. All right, if you want to know more about me, you can check out the autobiography over at the Smart Drive Test website, and as well, started the online YouTube channel in business in 2015. It's been wildly more successful than I could have imagined. Two good resources to have a look at. Look at the podcast for new drivers, defensive driving. For those of you who just got your license, have a look at that on the podcast. And as well, some car and truck crashes. And again, these happen at the freeways on intersections. And you're going to say, well, there aren't any intersections on freeways. If it's a true freeway, that's true. There aren't any intersections on freeways. However, on ramps, exit ramps, mostly exit ramps is where you're going to get into trouble on freeways and interstates. So when you're driving on the freeway, driving on the interstate, be looking far down the road, mapping and scanning and checking to see whether cars are coming out onto the highway. And if they are, slow down, let them merge out. And when I say slow down, I don't mean like 30 miles an hour. I'm talking 2 or 3 miles an hour. Or move over into the other lane to let them come onto the highway safely to get yourself home safely, because it's not a battleground, right? We want to get home safe. All right, what is defensive driving? Driving in a manner that allows you to compensate for the errors and, Driving in a manner that allows you to compensate for the errors of yourself and the errors of other on the roadway, because everybody's going to make mistakes when you're driving. It's not just you and it's not just the other people. But part of social driving is we like to police other people on the roadway. Oh, you're a dummy, you're driving too slow. You dummy, you don't know how to make a left-hand turn. You didn't go when the gap presented itself. Oh my God, could you drive any slower? Ah! And then the person, as you know, that's going faster than you, is a bonehead, and the person going slower than you is a crackhead. So, this is what's going on in terms of driving, okay? Creating conditions that will allow you to mitigate the risks associated with driving. This is what you want to do. All right, so what is defensive driving? That's what it is. You're creating habits that are going to mitigate the risks associated with driving and to reduce the number of traffic crashes that you could potentially be in. This is why we want to put in skills and habits that are going to keep us safe and let us go home safe. All right, smarter defensive driving consists of these four principles, but it also defines the problem of driving and what you're up against when you're driving, which is smarter defensive driving. The problem you're up against is social driving, okay? The way that people drive after they get their license. And I was just talking about policing the actions of other drivers. If they're doing something against the law, you're going to honk at them, you're going to give them the finger, you're going to get angry, you're going to tailgate them, and all the other things that people do to communicate that they are dissatisfied with the way that you are driving on the roadways. So the skills and habits that you can create and put in place that will keep you safe are speed management, space management, observation, and communication. We already talked about space management, 3 to 4 second following distance, staying back 1 vehicle length from the vehicles in front when you're coming to a stop or slowing down. Space management, or speed management rather, the flow of traffic or the posted speed limit, whichever is less. And this is particularly important for the purposes of a driver's test. Now, after you get your driver's license, I do advocate that you keep up with the flow of traffic to remain predictable on the roadways. Communicating effectively. The number one way that we communicate with other traffic is the position of the vehicle on the roadway or its speed and changes in speed. All this will communicate intent of other road users and drivers on the roadway. Observation, looking far down the road, mapping and tracking other road users, checking your mirrors every 10 to 15 seconds, looking at your instrument panel, seeing a cyclist as you're approaching an intersection where you're going to make a right-hand turn, and then mapping and tracking that road user by shoulder checking and looking into the blind areas around your vehicle. Space management, minimum safe distance. And we use the term minimum safe distance because it's, nuclear bombs, right? You have to be minimum safe distance from the bomb. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. You're going to be potentially collateral damage, right? It's the same thing with car wrecks. Minimum safe distance between other vehicles, road users, fixed objects on the roadway so that you don't crash into them, all right? You can always manage space in front of your vehicle. And drivers come back to me over the years and they say, well, if I leave space in front of my vehicle, people are going to cut in. Well, I've been leaving space in front of my vehicle forever, and it's only every now and again that somebody cuts in front of my vehicle. Not very often. And if they do, you just say, oh, go and have your crash somewhere else, and then you just reclaim your space in front and drive. So it's boring. So it's uneventful, because if it's boring and uneventful, you're doing your job as a defensive driving, because driving should not be exciting all the time. We're not race car drivers. We're not F1 Formula car drivers. That's not what the roadway is about. If you want to do that, go on a track and do it there. Okay? Space buys you time buys you options, options prevent crashes. This is why we want to maintain space in front of our vehicle so we can respond accordingly to what's going on in the environment. We want to move from being reactionary and retaliatory drivers. So reaction, we're reacting to what's going on in the driving environment, and we're being retaliatory. If somebody's going too slow, we're going to tailgate them and we're going to tell them that they're going too slow. We want to be proactive. We want to create driving conditions that will keep us safe most of the time, and we want to reduce and mitigate the risks associated with driving. This is what we want to do by becoming proactive and predictable on the roadways. All right, stopping in traffic 1 vehicle length back. There's several reasons for doing this. It prevents its defensive posturing against being rear-ended. It allows you, if you change your mind, you can move out and around the vehicles in front of you. Cars, if the car in front of you rolls back, most of the world outside of North America drive manual transmissions. So if the person is not taught properly and they're doing that gas thing first and then the clutch and they roll backwards, they're not going to roll into you. And then finally, in some sort of utopian world in which we live, if everybody stayed back one vehicle length, the entire pack of cars waiting at the traffic light to take off could move off together, and it wouldn't be one car go and the next car go and the next car goes, okay? The whole pack could move off together. But I live in some sort of driving utopia world that's probably not ever going to happen. Okay, when out on the highways, to keep yourself safe, again, keep your 3 to 4 second following distance. And of course, the 3 to 4 second following distance is under ideal driving conditions. Okay, if road conditions deteriorate, it starts raining, it's snowing, traffic gets heavy, then you want to increase that following distance in front of your vehicle. Now, out on the roadways, on the highways, on the interstates, you want to drive in the clusters between the vehicles to keep yourself safe. So figure out where the clusters are, and you'll be able to see them because it's a group of vehicles driving together. You want to drive in the spaces between those clusters, and sometimes it's just a matter of slowing down a couple of miles an hour and letting the cluster go ahead, and then you sit in the middle, okay? And if you're on the speed limit or a couple of miles above the speed limit, most places the flow of traffic is going to be 5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit or 10 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit, because most police officers will not pull you over if you are in the pack, okay? As Tim says, the nail that sticks up is the one that gets hammered down. So the car in the front of the pack that's going like a crazy bat out of hell, or the one in the back of the pack that's going crazy bat out of hell that's 30 miles an hour over the posted speed limit, those are the cars that are going to get picked off and get traffic tickets. So keep that in mind if you decide that you want to speed. Okay, who's driving? Following too close. If you were following too close, you are not in control of your vehicle. The driver in front of you is in control of your vehicle, and now you're a reactionary driver. You're not responding to what's going on in the driving environment, because we come back to the saying again, space buys you time, time buys you options, options prevent crashes. If you have predictable actions according to rules and culture of the road, we're going to significantly reduce traffic crashes on our roadway. And there's all kinds of enforcement out on the roadways, automated enforcement. This is a big debate right now in the province of Ontario with automated enforcement with red light cameras and speed cameras, but it's a very debatable political topic in terms of automated enforcement, and people are reluctant to have automated rigid enforcement such as traffic cameras and red light or speed cameras. So think about that in terms of predictable driving and traffic safety and whatnot. And it's actually interesting. We can answer that question right in the comments. For those of you now on the live stream or those watching on the replay, leave a comment down there whether you think automated enforcement, red light cameras and speed cameras, whether they are a money grab to fill the political coffers, or they actually do increase safety. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about that. So leave us a comment there about that. Okay, predicting traffic patterns in the summertime. In the wintertime, there are going to be different traffic patterns because there are going to be different kinds of vehicles on the roadway. In the summertime, you have many more vulnerable road users on the roadway. Cyclists, pedestrians, motorcycle riders, RVs, campers, trucks pulling boats and all those types of things. So different traffic patterns. In the wintertime, you have fewer vulnerable road users on the roadway, fewer cars and traffic and those types of things, because if you get the least bit of snow on the roadways, people are like freaking out and they're going to stay home. They're not going to be driving, all right? Turning lanes, looking for rubberneckers. If you have emergency vehicles on the roadway, know that traffic on the roadway in the vicinity of the emergency vehicles is going to be slowing down. If a police officer has a car pulled over, it's going to be causing traffic to slow down in that vicinity on the roadways. So know the characteristics of other vehicles on the roadway and know how traffic is going to change as the seasons change when you're driving. All right, interpret the actions of road users, looking farther down the road, figuring out traffic patterns, interpreting the actions of individual road users. And here we go with the zipper merging. And yes, there is some research that suggests, and I have been trying to track down this Minnesota traffic study that's been done, but it's like, oh, the Minnesota traffic study, and then they link to something else, and it's this person, and then another person saying, and another person saying. I can never really figure out or get a hold of the Minnesota traffic study that was done there. It's kind of like going down a rabbit hole when you start trying to figure out all the zipper merging and whatnot. But I'm still very much of the opinion, and I have not been convinced otherwise professionally, to change my opinion about zipper merging. And first and foremost, it's just that you are giving up space and you are trusting other drivers to do the right thing. And as we know, other drivers don't always do the right thing. So maintaining minimum safe distance around your vehicle, in front of your vehicle, and doing the shoulder checking, ABS, always be scanning. All right, MIT, mapping intersections, tracking road users. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. So as you're approaching intersections, map the intersection, track road users. As I was talking about earlier with cyclists, you're coming up to the intersection, you're doing your shoulder checks, you locate the cyclist, you get up to the intersection, you've passed the cyclist, and then you get to the intersection and you're like, okay, where did the cyclist go? What is he or she doing on the bicycle? And so then you sit in the intersection and you wait for the cyclist to go past to keep both yourself safe and the cyclist on the roadway. All these cautionary signs in the image here will help you to locate intersections. And don't just think of intersections as conventional intersections, Y intersections, T intersections, roundabouts, okay? On-ramps, off-ramps, on interstates, merge lanes, these are all intersection points. These are all points where you could potentially intersect with other vehicles. In terms of advanced defensive driving skills, if you come up and there's a merge lane and there is a risk of you being involved in a sideswipe crash, but you could avoid it by veering into the other lane of oncoming traffic, don't do it. Okay? If you have a choice between a sideswipe crash and a head-on crash, pick the sideswipe crash every time to keep yourself safe when you're driving. All right? You will probably survive a sideswipe crash. It's probably going to be just property damage unless you lose control of your vehicle and drive into a wall or whatnot. But if you're involved in a head-on crash, it's not likely that you are going to walk away from that unscathed. You're probably going to sustain major injuries in terms of a head-on collision. So know that in terms of keeping yourself safe at intersections, merge points, and other choke points along the roadway. Good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Corey, I'm of the belief that there is better zipper merging when cars merge into one lane ahead of the choke point when there is still movement in both lanes rather than waiting until basically right before it. Yep. Okay, excellent. Evan, there is no such thing as a silly question when asking an instructor. If you don't have asked the questions, you won't learn. And that's absolutely right about what Evan was just saying. If you have a question and you don't want to ask it because you think you're going to sound silly, I can guarantee you that there are 6 other people on the live stream, 6 other people watching on the replay who have the same question. So it's not just you, it's everybody else. So if you want to learn, you want to get more in depth in a topic or a subject, you need to ask questions. Ask questions, okay? Lots and lots of questions. Altifa, how are you? Long time no, got my license a while ago. Awesome. Welcome to the live stream, my friend. Thanks for stopping in. That is awesome. How is the driving going, my friend? Marion, traffic left lane is full, so I have to go up to the zipper point and move into a gap that someone has left for me. Yeah, that's not necessarily zipper merging, Marion. Zipper merging is when one car goes and the other car goes and then this go and this go and this goes, this goes. The reason it doesn't work is because, say you got 2 lines of traffic, right? One car's going, one car's going. And it works in all the animated models because it's just cars. You put a semi-truck in one of those lanes and you have 4 cars beside the semi-truck. And then, so the semi-truck comes up, the semi-truck lets a car go in front, and then the semi-truck goes. Now you got 4 cars and you got 1 person, and now it's uneven. Right? So keep in mind, people are, when it comes to merging and letting other people over, I'm nice, but I'm not let more than 1 car merge nice. I'm not let more than 1 car merge nice, right? So that's when the whole thing falls apart, because not the next person isn't going to let 3 cars in. So know that when you're merging. If, and this is what I tell new drivers, if you're merging and it's busy and you're coming down the ramp and there's a line of cars and they're all matching the speed of the freeway and it's all nice and slow, and the car in front of you goes into a gap, that same driver is not going to let you go in as well. You have to plan, the car in front of you is going to merge, and then this car goes, and then you merge in behind that car because the next driver behind them is going to let you in. Keep that in mind. It sounds funny. I'm nice, but I'm not let more than one car merge nice. It's also part of cultural driving. It's the way that it works out on the roadways. If it's busy and you need to merge over, if one person lets a car in front of you, they're not going to let you in too. You got to get in behind that car, and the next driver is going to let you in because it's one car in nice. And I hate to say it, but I am the same. Okay? I'll let one car in, but I'm not letting 3 or 4 cars in. No, I'm not the guy holding the door, because it's the same thing, right? You go into a public building and you hold the door for one person, and the next thing you know, 6 or 7 people come in, and the next thing you know, you're standing there for 5 minutes holding the door, kind of looking a little sheepish, right? It's the same thing when you let people merge. I'm nice, let one car merge nice, but that's it. After that, I'm going, and I'm going to block you. Right? And this may be coming back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the live stream when we were talking about people who think that they are signaling and the other person speeds up to block them. It may not be that at all. It may just be the fact of exactly the culture and the theory that I'm nice, but I'm not letting more than one car merge nice. So the person that's trying to merge, somebody already let one car in, so they're not letting you in too. So you have to merge in behind that car in front of the next car behind them. So this comes back to defensive driving and keeping yourself safe when you're trying to move over and merge and whatnot. Lackadaisical, not just merging, also applied when a car is turning from a parking lot into a main street. Let one car in, don't let 6 cars in. Yes, absolutely. It applies to that driving scenario as well. That, you know, I'll let one car to the parking lot out onto the main road, but I'm not going to let 6 cars out. I'll be nice to one car, but I'm not being nice to 6 cars, and that's just part and parcel of driving. Corey, yeah, the theoretical zipper merge is constant movement. I've never seen it in practice, Corey, because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Outside of theoretical models, it does not work, and I cannot find actual research to substantiate it actually working. It is nothing more than some bureaucrat's opinion of traffic movement through a choke point. So, for the purposes of defensive driving, move over as soon as possible. Keep yourself safe on the roadways. Epic, my friend, another thing when exiting off the highway, look to your left because there might be a driver trying to do an unsafe exit move in the case of the United Kingdom. Your right side from the motorway, yes, you want to be scanning and having situational awareness about driving. And when I'm talking about situational awareness, we come back to this traffic Tetris. Where are the other cars and road users on the roadway as you're moving? Okay, because traffic is always changing. It's dynamic. It is always in motion. And you need to be tracking and mapping other road users and cars on the roadway as you're driving and figuring out where you are in relation to those other vehicles to keep yourself safe. All right. Elevator fan, zipper merging happens daily. Arch, where are you in the world that it happens daily? Because I've had this conversation with other people and they're like, oh, they do it in Germany and they do it really well. And then I dig into it and I get details about it and it doesn't work. They're not talking about zipper merging at all. They're talking about something completely different. They're just talking about merging. All right, Arch, I'd love to talk to the UN about defensive driving and keeping people safe on our roadways. Tim is back. Hello, my friend. New York City, yes. Okay. I can't say, Arch, that I've seen it in New York City either when I was driving there. So I'll have to go back and look at the dash cam footage that I have from there. Excellent. Okay. There we go. So we talked about zipper merging. We talked about the fact that it doesn't work. Don't do it. It's not your best defensive posturing to keep yourself safe on the roadways. Lackadaisical, what's your thoughts on ramp meters right before an on-ramp? Lackadaisical, are you talking about ramps that go red, green, go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, and they are what's the word I'm looking for? The ramp meters are filtering the traffic out onto the interstate. I believe that during rush hour and congestion times that the ramp meters are effective in helping to improve traffic flow. They had them in Seattle when I was, not Seattle, sorry, Spokane, Washington when I was there, and I drove across 2 years ago to Ontario, and I think they're effective. I think they are much safer than just a yield sign out onto the highway. Yield signs tend to confuse people about what is going on and how they should merge out onto the highway, and some people take a yield sign that they can stop on the acceleration lane when they're trying to merge out onto the interstate or freeway. And for me, don't do that. Ever. Don't ever do that, okay? Get out onto the on-ramp, get out onto the acceleration lane, get your foot into it, match the speed of the traffic on the highway to keep yourself safe. Otherwise, it's just going to be a hot mess, and you could really get into trouble when you're on the acceleration lane and you come to a stop because you can't find a gap when you're getting out onto the highway or freeway. Star, why do people drive bad when it rains? Why do they have so much confidence in their tires? Star, it's not just the rain. People drive bad when the weather is awesome outside. And, you know, most people think that more crashes happen when weather is bad, which is wrong. The most number of crashes in the Northern Hemisphere happen in June, July, and August and early September. That's when most of the traffic crashes happen. It happens in the summertime. Roads are clear. Traffic is light. Skies are clear, and they crash, and it's not the wintertime. And as well, in the United States of America, if you look at the crash statistics for the different states, New Mexico has one of the highest crash rates, in addition to, I think it's Louisiana. You know, these are states in the South, and they don't get winter. Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin are the states that have the lowest number of crashes. So people are still of the opinion that driving in the wintertime is tantamount to dancing with death, that they are going to die on icy, snow-covered roads, when it's actually the reverse. It's the summertime when you're most likely to get into a crash and into a fatal crash. Tim, if you're interested in the highway engineering side of driving, check out Road Guy Rob on YouTube. Okay, excellent. Definitely have to have a look at that. Zeke, Rick, are you so right about summer being more dangerous for driving? I noticed that a lot more now. Excellent. Marion, this summer has been brutal for highway crashes. Yeah, every summer. Every summer is bad for highway crashes because people take all kinds of risks that they normally would not do in rain and snow and deteriorated road conditions. And this is not new. This is in terms of traffic safety. I have a newspaper article from 1925 of the London Free Press in Ontario that talked about people driving better when weather was bad, when it was raining heavily outside, because they're now paying attention. They're concentrating on what's going on because the weather is bad and driving conditions are not good. But whereas, you know, it's nice outside and the roads are clear and there's moderate traffic and whatnot, then people are driving like crazy people. And there's, you know, as we're making cars safer and safer with more high tech and more creature comforts, people are driving even more crazy because they're less and less connected to the task of driving, especially, you know, automatic transmissions. They're not in tune with what's going on with the car at all, right? Interesting, the other day, we were out test driving a car with Tracy, and she's been driving the Audi, which is an automatic transmission, and she got in the manual car, and, you know, she would take some time to get used to the manual car because she was like revving it out to like 5,000-6,000 RPM. And I'm like, oh, you're not really paying attention to what's going on here. And it's because she's been driving an automatic transmission for a period of time. So this is what happens. Yes, Road Guy Rob. I'll have to definitely have a look at that. So it sounds good. Excellent. So defensive driving, the number one habit, the two things put in place that will keep you safe and significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash. 3 to 4 second following distance all the time. And the way that you measure following distance is pick a fixed object along the roadway, a tree, a sign, a utility pole. When the car that you're following goes past that fixed object, you start counting. Okay, 1 rhinoceros, 2 rhinoceros, 3 rhinoceros. If you go past it before you hit 3 rhinoceros, then you're too close to the car in front of you. And once you start doing this, you take a couple of weeks and you start counting and measuring your following distance behind other traffic. After a while, it'll just become intuitive. You'll know if you're 2 to 3 seconds following distance from the vehicle in front of you. That way you can maintain minimum safe distance between you and other vehicles on the roadway and keep yourself safe when you're driving. And this works. If you start to adopt this driving mentality, it works. I do it all the time. And yes, every now and again, another vehicle will cut into that space in front of you. But like I said, you just back off, say to yourself, yep, go and have your crash somewhere else, and then reclaim your 3 to 4 second following distance from that vehicle in front to keep yourself safe. Stop back from traffic, 1 vehicle length from the car in front of you. Your landmark for that is to be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the road surface. This is your best defensive posturing against being rear-ended because you're sitting there and you're active, right? Calm awareness. You're looking in your rearview mirror, you're watching the cars come up behind you, and if they do come up too fast, you can move forward, bang your brake pedal, flash the brake lights behind you, and that is going to prevent you being rear-ended. And there's a bunch of other reasons as well. Okay, being rear-ended, it's the #1 crash in North America. It is the most common crash. As I was talking about, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, one of the techniques that I put in place is that when I come up and I'm braking and I see a car behind me and they're probably tailgating me, I will come up and about half the distance I need to get the vehicle stopped, I will apply the brakes. And then about halfway, just before I get, maybe 50 feet from where I'm actually going to stop, I will release the brake pedal and then I will hit the brake pedal again. And what that does is it flips off the brake lights, puts the brake lights back on, and the person behind you is going, whoa, wait a minute, because our eyes are attracted to light and movement. So you need to flash the brake lights to say to the person behind you, hey, wake up back there because I'm coming to a stop and I don't want you parking in my trunk. I don't want you rear-ending me. So I find that technique to keep yourself safe and prevent being rear-ended really helps out. Lackadaisical, I feel it's kind of weird to stop and get up to speed again. Most of the highways here is accelerated and merge, no traffic lights. Lackadaisical, you sound like you live in a utopia because, yeah, I don't like coming to a stop either. I mean, interstates are awesome in the US because you can just drive and drive and drive and drive. But in cities, it's stop and go traffic. Tim, funny how counting like that for following distance seemed to be a new concept for seniors. Tim, the crazy thing about it is that there is a lot of misinformation about measuring following distance in time. And as you and I know, we do it in time because speed is relative. And as we increase in speed, because we're measuring in time, that distance increases, right? For example, if we're in the city and we're doing 30 miles an hour, 50 kilometers an hour, we're following at about 18 meters per second, right? We're traveling at about 18 meters per second. When we're doing 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, that now opens up to about 27 meters per second, 30 yards per second, right? So when we're following at 3 seconds on the highway at 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour, it's 100 meters, 300 feet. But in the city, that same 3 second following distance is about 60 feet, or 60 meters rather, so 180 feet. So because you're following in distance, or measuring following distance in time, when you double the speed, or more than double the speed, the following distance increases twice. Now, the one that I really dislike is in the States. There's a lot of driving manuals in the States that for every 10 miles an hour over 40 miles an hour, increase your following distance by 1 vehicle length. I'm like, pfft. If the train leaves the station going north at 3:17 p.m. and the other train going south leaves the train at 3:22 p.m., blah, blah. I'm like, do I need a pen to figure this out? So, it's just crazy. Just the following distance and what some people come up. Oh, it's 100 feet. Signal 100 feet before the intersection. It's like 100 feet. What's 100 feet? Just use flashes of the signal. 6 to 8 flashes is optimum for signaling when you're turning. 3 flashes minimum on the turn signal to communicate your intent effectively when you're driving. It's so much more simple than all this other stuff, because as you and I know, trying to figure out a distance in a moving vehicle is like, okay, well, how long is a piece of string? You cannot figure out a fixed distance in a moving vehicle because everything is relative. So if we can measure in time, we're going to make the roads a lot safer. And if you can get that as it's just intuitive, it's going to be easier. And I think, Tim, for you with the seniors and the elder students, when you're teaching them how to drive in defensive driving and measuring following distance, I don't think any of them have ever been taught this, right? I know that my mom just redid her license test. She just turned 80 this year. I don't think that she ever did any driver training that would have told her what a following distance is or anything like that. So there you go. All right, I think we answered all the questions. Defensive driving, minimum safe distance between your vehicle and other vehicles on the roadway. ABS, always be scanning. Shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. Looking into your blind areas, because the blind areas around your vehicle change with the orientation of your vehicle on the roadway. So if you're in a right slip lane, those blind areas are different, right, about where other vehicles are. And again, exactly what I say. Why on any planet would you change directions of a 3,500 pound vehicle moving at speed and not check into the blind areas for other road users? You would never pick up a rifle and not check to see if it was loaded. So why would you do it in a car? All right, shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. Minimum safe distance between your vehicle and other vehicles on the roadway. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section. If you have any questions about driving, we can definitely help you out. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.